Alright, hey guys, welcome to this CAD tutorial. Today we're going to be going over some basic navigation of Creo Parametric. This is technically tutorial 2, but we're going to call it tutorial 1. The last one was a little bit more basic. So, without further ado, let's get right into the video. Let's jump right into it. The first thing, if you want this part, I've left a download link in the description. It should be a Google Drive folder with the part. You're just going to download the part and then go into File, Open, and then find the part inside of your downloads. Normally that means go to Users, Yourself, Downloads, it'll be right there. So open this thing up, and we're going to be using this for navigating. Again, it is a simple cube, so if you have your own part, you can use that. Basic things, scrolling will zoom, and it'll zoom to where your mouse is. So if your mouse is over on the right and you zoom in, it will zoom all the way over there. So make sure you're zooming onto the part. And the next one is pushing down the middle mouse button will spin the part, which we'll be going over later. But if you're trying to get from the top to the bottom, using the middle mouse will get you there. This top bar here in the model window is actually very useful, and a lot of people gloss over it. So we're going to quickly go over some of the options here. On the far left, you will have refit. So if your part is way zoomed in or you are way zoomed out, you can click refit. It'll bring it back into a normal zoom. I tend to zoom out a little bit once I click it, but it will bring it back to a normal size. The zoom and zoom out options here aren't very useful, just because you do have the scroll wheel. But in case you're wondering, zoom, you click once, click twice, and it'll bring us a rectangle, and it'll zoom to it. Zoom out is just a click. A sidebar for later. If you are in a tool like Zoom or you're in a sketching tool and you don't want to be in it, you can middle mouse click and it'll bring you out of the tool into the normal selection cursor. The next two, repaint and the rendering options, we're not going to go over those, not super useful. Display styles, there's 6 of them. We are generally speaking on number 3, and this will change how the part looks. Another way, as you can see, there's control options for these. I'll be using the control options. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with control. So control 1 will bring up this shading one with a lot of different things going on. I don't like it a lot, so I don't recommend using it. Number 2, I do use quite a bit. It defines the edges really heavily, and it doesn't do a lot of shading and stuff. This one's just very useful for seeing the edges. Number 3 is the standard one you're on, where edges are softly defined, but the part looks normal. And then 4, 5, 6 are transparent ones. 4 will only define the edges, so you won't even really see the surfaces. You just kind of have to interpret them. You'll also notice that you can't see the bottom side unless you spin over to it. Number 5 fixes that, and it'll define it, but in a semi-transparent manner. So while number 4 you only see what you could normally see, number 5 you'll kind of see it in the back. Number 6 is wireframe, and you'll see it very, very vividly no matter where you are. The most useful ones, in my opinion, are 2, 3, and 5, but we will work, for the most part, in number 3 today. The next option is the saved orientations. It's just a menu of different orientations you can get to. For example, I click on top, it'll put me in the top, view. The other most useful one is standard orientation. Again, also all 6 of these you might need to be on eventually. Standard orientation will bring you into the more classic view of a CAD part. View manager is the next one. It's the paper with the camera. We're not going to go over that. The perspective I don't find super useful, but it puts the part into perspective where close things are bigger and far things are smaller. I don't like it at all. Now the datum display filters. You'll see all these orange things. You'll see kind of points on the top corners, axes in the middle, and then planes on the edges, as well as the origin. Here's where you can turn those things off or on. Generally speaking, I just leave them all on unless I'm trying to get a screenshot of the part, but up to you. I just leave them on. This is the annotation display toggle. If you don't want annotations on, you can turn it off. As of right now, we haven't made any annotations. That's something we'll go over in a future tutorial. The last one, which is arguably one of the more important ones, is the spin center. So if I keep it on and I start to spin the part by pushing down my middle mouse button, you'll see it spins around the center of the actual part. So I can spin really fast and it stays in the middle. And it's really easy to kind of predict where the part's going. If I turn it off, it spins not about the center of the part, but where your mouse is. So if you accidentally click out here and start spinning, it'll actually spin along where you put that mouse. It's really hard to control the part, in my opinion, when you have this toggled off. So make sure spin center is on. That is the top menu. There's a few other mouse navigation things, just some shortcuts I want to go over. So the first thing it's kind of hard to pan the part right now. So if you hold down Shift and then push down your middle mouse button and start moving, you'll actually be able to pan the part around in like a 2D manner. Once you've gone into the pan mode, you can let go of Shift, but make sure your Shift is pushed before you push down your middle mouse button and start panning. The same thing is true for Control and the middle mouse button, but there's two different controls here. So if you Control middle mouse button and turn left or right, it'll spin the part around like a 2D manner. And if you do the same thing, Control middle mouse button, but push up or down, it'll zoom the part in a 2D manner. I find the Shift for the pan a lot more useful than the other two, but just so you guys are familiar with those. There are some keyboard shortcuts that I quickly want to go over. With any software on planet Earth, Control Z will undo. So I make a rectangle on here and I click OK, and I don't want Sketch Forward, Control Z, undo it. You can also do that in the top left here, next to the Save button, undo. Control D is normally duplicate in most software. In Creo, though, it is standard orientation. So again, under the view options, we did have standard orientation. A quicker way to do it, which I've been using the entire time, is Control D. It'll bring it right here. Control 1 through 6 again are the different display styles. We're going to stick on number 3. Control S is save. So you make a change to a part, you want to save it, Control S. And then two other ones that are extremely useful are S will bring up the sketching menu, and X will bring up the extruding menu. Without any control or anything. If you're looking for a specific shortcut, you can hover over the button and you'll see Extrude X, or under File, New is Control N. You can just find those by hovering over the part. The last section is the menus and the model tree. So the model tree will build as you build the part. So the first thing I did was make the cube, and the first thing I did inside that, as you can see grayed out, is the Sketch 1. I recommend renaming things as you go because it does get complicated with a bigger part as to what is what, and you want to make sure you know what you're editing. Also note, you cannot have spaces in your name, and you can't have two of the same name even if they're different types of things. As the top is a plane, and in that case I couldn't rename my second extrude to top, so I renamed it something else. And any spaces need to be underscores. Next is the top bar, all the tab menus. We're going to go over the most useful ones first. So the file menu is just general file things. New, open, save as, whatever. Manage file does have rename. So if you're looking to rename a part, that is the place you would do it. And then also the options are there. The model is the most common menu to be on. It has all of the most useful tools, including things like copy and paste, your datum options, sketching, extruding, patterns. All of your most useful things for building the part are in the model tab. Also note, when you go into a sketch or an extrude, it'll open up a new tab, so just so you know where that is in case it disappears. Analysis is also very useful, but really only for measure. There's obviously a lot of things in here, but the most common one is measure, where you can measure distances between things and figure out dimensions. The next most useful one is view. A lot of these things in the orientation model display are on this top menu, so you don't actually need to visit this menu specifically a lot. But some things that are useful in here are the appearances. The appearances is how I got the top and bottom to be different colors. You have a lot of different options in here to change the appearance of surfaces. And the other one, if you click on model display, one of the first options is, or the first option is images. And if you're looking to put a 2D image into your part to trace over, that would be where you do so. And we will go over that in a future tutorial. All of the other menus, applications is not super useful for us right now. Flexible modeling, again, same thing. Tools might be useful in the future, but I'm not going to go over it right now. Annotate is semi-useful, but a lot of things you can do with Annotate you can do with a drawing. So we'll go over that later. In live simulation, we're not going to go through since Simulate isn't an option for the schools edition of the software. The last thing I want to go over is the top bar here. The first three options are new, open, save. These are things that you can also find in the file tab. The next two are undo and redo. They also have a history. So if you've done a lot of things in succession and want to undo a bunch of them, you can go to the history here instead of spamming Control Z. The option with like the 3 gray windows and then the blue window will change between active windows. So you can have up to 15 windows, but only one of them will be active. So if I were to open up a new part, that one would be active and this one would be deactivated. People tend to try and go down here, and kind of like with Google Chrome where you can have multiple windows, you can just kind of scroll between them. You can't actually do that with Creo. You need to use this option to change the active window so that you can actually modify the part. And if you want to close the window you're on, you can use the option right next to it. But anyways, that is the full tutorial. I would spend about 10 to 15 minutes just kind of navigating Creo and getting used to the moving of the parts. In the next tutorial, we will go over some basic sketching, even though I said we would do that in this tutorial. Found this a little bit more necessary. But anyways, that's the tutorial. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope to see you in the next video.